Joining me on the line as he does every Friday on the show. You can find out more about him at our website, kggo.com. He's from cinemablend.com. And ladies and gentlemen, his name is Mike Reyes. Hey, Mike, what's going on?
Oh, not much. Just about ready to take a cruise this weekend. How about yourself?
Yeah, let's talk about this. You were supposed to go see Jungle Cruise last night, but Mother Nature saw otherwise, correct?
Oh, boy, did it. I'm really getting tired of this. I am really getting tired of this because this is basically, for fans of the show, I got caught up in some weather-related incident a couple weeks ago and didn't get to go see Space Jam because I was supposed to review that, but, that was kind of a bit of a save. And then this week, I had a screener link for Jungle Book, but the thing is, I had other assignments I had to meet. We had 2 Twilight watch parties that I attended this week because, we're just doing really well with those. And that's like another sort of duty to uphold.
A Twilight watch party?
Yeah, it's still very popular on the internet. And just, you can read my tweets on my Twitter about how well that went. But anyway, I was supposed to go see Jungle Cruise last night because I was going to do the 3D review. So it's like, okay, I missed my screening link, but I'm going to do the 3D thing because we like to cover 3D movies.
Yeah.
And then maybe half an hour before I go, my phone goes off and it's like, tornado warning. And then it changes to a flash flood warning. And then it's like, you know what? I don't think I'm leaving the house because that huge pouring rain and thunder and lightning storm, I'm not going to mess with it.
Your area has been kind of inundated with rain and stuff lately, right?
Yeah. There was a couple weeks back, I think, like during June or maybe even earlier this month where it was like very rainy through the whole week. Okay. And I wasn't going to mess with this.
This, flash flooding, nothing to sneeze at. I was joking with you that people in Iowa go look for tornadoes. So anyways, Jungle Cruise coming out this weekend. What do you hear? This movie seems like it should have been out a long time ago, right? Or am I completely off in that?
Well, the thing was, what I remember is this is a story that they've been trying to make into a movie for a while. And it was once rumored that they wanted to do a Tom Hanks, Tim Allen version of this way like back in 2011, I think. But as reading up on this, it looks like it started development in 2004, and I'm sure like Pirates got priority over it. But then it finally happened, and I think it was supposed to come out last summer.
Well, that's what I was saying.
They pushed it a whole year.
Yeah, because of COVID, right?
Yeah, they pushed it, and then they also released it as a Disney Plus Premier Access simultaneous release, which is something else we're gonna have to talk about after. Yeah. Talk about after this because there's some news on that front. I'm hearing mixed reviews. It looks like it's like at a 63 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
And I'm hearing some comparisons to Indiana Jones, some comparisons to The Mummy, which definitely just makes me want to watch it even more because Indiana Jones and The Mummy are 2 of the most fun film series I've ever experienced. And if it especially airs towards the Mummy side of things, I'll be set.
The part I wanted to ask you about, and we can't answer it because we don't know where it is in the movie, but apparently they somebody covered Nothing Else Matters from Metallica in this. Music composed by James Newton Howard.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if that was a cover so much as James Newton Howard did like an orchestral reinterpretation, and maybe because the band like signed off on it.
Yeah.
No, I think the band actually worked with him and performed. No, yeah. It was an honor to work with renowned legendary composer James Newton Howard as we reimagined the song by performing his arrangement and creating a rendition we like to think is fit for an excursion through the Amazon. That's from Metallica themselves.
That's awesome. I've got the link over at the website kggo.com if people want to see it. I'll also add it to the page. The posts that'll go up on the website with this interview. But there's you said it best off air. Metallica is a band that converts to classical music very well.
It really does. Like that especially that first well, I don't know about the second, but I know they did that first S&M concert with Michael Kamen. Mm-hmm. And just hearing them perform not only their own songs, but then hearing them perform Ecstasy of Gold is something that just I am like getting goosebumps thinking about it because their guitar work incorporated with that is just that whole version on that album is so ramped up.
So awesome. Mike Reyes from cinemablend.com. So we're here. It's probably pretty okay at least, right? Is what we're kind of hearing.
Like a fun summer ride is what it looks like. One of those fun summer blockbusters, and you've got The Rock and Emily Blunt, and those are two people I will go watch.
Yeah.
Anytime.
No, absolutely.
Even if you get what you pay for, you get the people you hired when you get them.
You know what I had?
Look like they are having so much fun.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joining me on the line. Before we get to the next movie, let's just do the Black Widow stuff here because it kind of came up with Jungle Book.
Whatever do you mean? What troubles could have surfaced with Black Widow?
Apparently, Scarlett is suing Disney over the whole premiere access thing. Boy, actors do not like that, do they?
Okay, so here is where normally when I look at this sort of thing, I like, of course, gut check before I even read the damn thing. It's like, oh, Scarlett Johansson, blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking, wow, okay, your movie's in its third week and it's tanking because it's not that good of a movie, but go ahead, sue. Normally I would say, why didn't this come up before? According to the story, it did come up before. In fact, even before the pandemic, if I'm remembering my details correctly, and I like to think I am, Scarlett Johansson and her people reached out to Disney in March 2019 to get assurances that Black Widow would not be a Disney Plus exclusive or like a Disney Plus streaming release, that it would go to theaters.
Okay.
They apparently did not get back to her.
Ooh.
Then they go and file this lawsuit. And then they slam her. They're like, wow, this is callous in a pandemic. She's going to do this, blah, 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 blah. Which led a lot of people to think, okay, so you're not exactly hiding your hand here, Disney. And apparently, and there's more details on this that have come out, Kevin Feige was furious when they did the whole announcement of Disney Premier Access. Like, he apparently, in this whole thing, Kevin Feige was on the side of Scarlett Johansson and his team. And it was, it was allegedly a Disney sort of push. So there's going to be a lot of drama coming out of this soon. And some are just thinking they'll settle, she'll get paid, and contracts are going to have to be worded a lot differently. And the funniest thing I saw about this on Twitter, one of the people that I follow retweeted the whole story, retweeted something. Like, I think they just retweeted random headlines from the story. And they said, tell me you're done with Marvel without telling me you're done with Marvel. Or done with Disney. Tell me you're done with Disney without telling me you're done with Disney.
Oh, that's perfect.
Oh, that's another thing that's going to be called into question now. She's supposed to be doing a Tower of Terror movie with them.
Oh, boy.
I wonder if that's going to continue, and I wonder how this is going to affect that.
Hell if I know lately, man. Everything seems to be falling apart. Disney, Marvel, college football. It's all just coming down around us, so...
The Icapades.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joining me as always. What's next on the list this week, Mike?
Well, the next movie I've seen this week is Matt Damon's Stillwater, which people don't get it confused with some sort of sequel to Almost Famous. This isn't. This has nothing to do with that film. This is a emotional family drama about a man named Bill, played by Matt Damon, whose daughter is convicted of murder in France.
Okay.
And after several years of being imprisoned, he goes to visit her, and it starts this sort of quest for justice because he doesn't feel that she did the crime, and then she also slips him a note to look into a new promising lead.
Okay.
And it's I actually liked it. I know we have someone else on staff that wasn't too much of a fan of it, but I actually liked it, even though I will admit it does drag a little bit because they do try to stuff a lot of concepts into this one film, because at one moment it feels like, you're going to get this whole investigative drama, and then it sort of shifts focus into a character piece and focuses more on the story of Bill and this woman he meets, Virginie, played by Camille Cotin, who is a single mother that he meets by chance, and basically asks her to be a translator for him.
Okay.
And then that story kind of develops more than you would have expected. And I can see where some people kind of are iffy on whether that this movie wants to be two different things, but while it does drag a little bit, I do admire the fact that it went for something atypical. And Matt Damon, of course, is everyone is brilliant in this, but Matt Damon definitely gets to play something people aren't really used to from him.
Mike, what's next on the list this week?
Sadly, I have not seen the final movie we're going to talk about, but I am planning on doing so as soon as possible. David Lowery's The Green Knight, which for you medieval lore enthusiasts, it is based off of Sir Gawain and The Green Knight, which is a fantastic story I think people should read.
Okay.
Or read again if they read it back in high school. But basically there is this enigmatic Green Knight that looks really, it just, the character just looks really cool. He almost looks like an Ent of Lord of the Rings, but like more slimmed down and green. So this Green Knight comes to this kingdom, and a knight played by Dev Patel, takes the challenge. The Green Knight basically arrives and is like, take a crack at me. Whoever can, kill me is the winner. Dev Patel goes in to try, and then an epic quest ensues.
It's a King Arthur story, right?
I believe it's an Arthurian legend.
That's what
I'm a little rusty on it.
Okay, yeah. King Arthur's headstrong nephew embarks on a quest to confront. You know what it kind of sounded like when you were describing it?
What?
This green guy shows up and challenges everybody. It sounded like the Cell games from Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, wow. Oh, now there is an interesting question to ask. Is Dragon Ball Z a translated Arthurian myth?
Oh, I don't know. There's probably people out there that are like, Dragon what? I will say, if you ever have time and you've never watched it before, and even if you have watched it, it's just great to go back to. Dragon Ball Z on YouTube, Team 4-Star. Go back and watch the revoiced version of it. It is spectacular. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joining me on the line right now as we head over. So Green Knight, it looks like it's going to be cool. We just haven't seen it yet. So
no, but it looks gorgeous.
All right. Onwards and upwards over to the world of movie news. Real quick, I didn't know about it until yesterday, but apparently there's a new season of The Movies That Made Us Out.
Yeah, and they've got some heavy hitters I'm looking forward to learning a little more about, or learning about again, because as much as I love those shows, sometimes, like with the Back to the Future episode is one of the ones that's coming this season.
I watched it earlier this week.
Was there anything really new or shocking that we didn't already know?
A couple things. Like, it laid out the story better to kind of understand how far they got and what all that movie was going to be until we got what we got. And I didn't know that they brought up Michael J. Fox, his schedule for doing it and how he actually did get involved in the film. That was kind of...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I never heard that exact story before. And they said that he was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 91, I believe. And they said that...
Yeah, it was pretty early on.
They brought up that he was having trouble, holding the guitar and doing stuff, and even back then. So it was very interesting. My wife even was watching it, and she was very into it. So very cool stuff.
If you get a chance... I'm sorry, go on.
Oh, I was just going to tell you the other movies that are involved in this season. Do you want to hear them? Or
what?
Pretty Woman.
I've heard them, actually.
Pretty Woman, Jurassic Park, and Forrest Gump. First season was Dirty Dancing, Home Alone, Ghostbusters, and Die Hard.
I really liked the story about how they did the flooding of the house in Home Alone.
Yes.
They basically had a whole high school gym for a school that was closed.
Yeah.
And they just flooded it and built the house on top of their old swimming pool.
Yep. That's cool stuff.
But, even to people like us who know most of the stories to these, it's still really fun to watch the reflections on how these movies just became so big.
Yeah.
That's on, where can people check that out?
That's on Netflix. I have not made my way through the entire thing yet. But like I said, we watched Back to the Future the other night. We were sitting down for supper, and she goes, there is nothing on. And I'm like, all right, let's check. And something had popped up that the new season was out. So I just put it on, and we both got mesmerized by it. So really good stuff. And with that in mind, you bring up the Ghostbusters saying we did get a new trailer for Ghostbusters Afterlife. We finally got our first look at Dan Aykroyd. Kind of. Yeah, we got our first listen to Dan Aykroyd because, as everybody knows out there, Ghostbusters Afterlife is a direct sequel to it's a legacy sequel to the original Ghostbusters movie. It has nothing to do with Paul Feig's 2016 film that was kind of a parallel universe canon
which now is literally parallel universe canon because of the comics.
Yeah, I think if you go back and you explain whether or not it was actually a sequel to the first couple movies or if it was a reboot, I don't think they ever laid those ground rules out right. Does that make sense?
Was my major and only problem with that movie, was that it leans into the legacy and it like adapts moments, and I feel like most of the cameos weren't well laid out.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that iffy ground of, okay, so there's Ghostbusters, but these aren't the Ghostbusters.
Yeah, that I go back at it and I think about it, and I was that movie, like I didn't really like it to begin with. I didn't think it was very good. I didn't think it was overly funny. But the more I think about it, the more it's, what am I watching here? Am I watching a sequel? Is this the same world, or is this an alternate universe? Is within that world? Is it just a completely new movie? Just tell me what the fuck I'm watching.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that movie. I think it has a lot of really cool jokes, and honestly, my favorite cameo is Sigourney Weaver's at the end.
Yeah,
and that's part of why I wanted a damn sequel, is because Sigourney Weaver and Kate McKinnon being dangerous and psychotic with science is something that I would watch a whole movie for.
Yes, no, absolutely, like you said. But yeah, I think that was the issue with it. But anyways, this one is the direct sequel. We got our first kind of look at some of the Ghostbusters. We didn't get much new with it, I would say. But Dan Aykroyd at the end of it was awesome.
Dan Aykroyd at the end was awesome. Annie Potts coming back as Janine and like sort of talking about Egon in the beginning was beautiful.
Yes, Janine. Yes.
Yes. And then just the whole thing where a lot of people are on this sort of debate where it's like, Ghostbusters was a comedy. Ghostbusters wasn't a comedy. And this is sort of coloring people's look at this trailer, because some people are like, oh, well, this isn't a Ghostbusters movie because, it looks like a family comedy. It's like they Stranger Things to this thing.
Yeah.
I don't care, because the humor in this trailer and the warmth in this trailer have me sold.
Yes.
We're going to learn about Egon's family and why he moved out to the Midwest and all this other stuff. And I think it's a wonderful way to honor the fact that Harold Ramis is no longer with us.
Yeah.
Because it was something that they were going to have to acknowledge at some point. And I think it's a real interesting window into a new generation of Ghostbusters. And look, it's Ghostbusters. As someone who wore out their VHS of the original film and then just started watching Ghostbusters 2 all the time because we taped it off of HBO, I have no problem with this. And I'm ready for this. I like Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters, time and time again, there have been people that have brought up the fact that first movie only works because of pure accidental genius. It was not this thing that was planned.
Yeah.
It was this thing that was planned, but then they had to change so many different things and so many different obstacles presented themselves that it just kind of happened to be good because of the people that were involved knew how to keep it together. People are just kind of approaching this with the same mindset as like a Star Wars, where like that is very planned and very much we have to do X to compensate for Y. Ghostbusters is just this sort of loose legacy, and to hold it to that higher standard kind of defeats the purpose. Ghostbusters is just supposed to be fun.
Yeah. I think when you get down to it, and who the guy that's directing is
Jason Reitman is Ivan Reitman's son, and Ivan Reitman directed the first Ghostbusters as well as Kindergarten Cop and Dave, and his father is apparently his reaction to the film is like immense pride.
I think it's one of those things where there's a lot of people that go in and they'll bring back something that, this is a great example, but just, if you ever came back and you're going to be like, hey, we're going to do a sequel down the line of Dirty Harry. Well, whoever's going to do the story has to understand Dirty Harry, like to its core, what it's supposed to be. And maybe that's what happened with the other Ghostbusters that came out a couple years ago, where it's like, it's not as easy to recreate that Ghostbusters feel that everybody fell in love with as what people think. You have to really go into it and understand, okay, what are we doing here and why are we doing it? Why was Bill Murray so perfect for this? Why was the Dan Aykroyd stuff's so cool, and so on and so forth. Like, you have to really understand this, and we finally, you know what? I think we found someone that understands it.
Yeah, well, that's another reason why the 2016 Ghostbusters doesn't get a fair shake, because I think they were trying to just use the formula. They were interpreting the formula, but they were doing it in a different way. And that's not what people were expecting. People were expecting, okay, I love Ghostbusters. You're just going to make another Ghostbusters that apes the original film, right? And I don't think Paul Feig had any intention of aping anything other than, this is Ghostbusters. This is a group of friends who have various skill sets and fight ghosts.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of twisted people's expectations, as well as other misguided things that we will not discuss here. But just suffice it to say, if you haven't given Ghostbusters 2016 a chance, or I think it's actually called Ghostbusters Answer the Call.
Really?
In like some versions. They gave it a subtitle to kind of remarket it, I think, like Edge of Tomorrow got its title changed and whatnot. But if you ever get a chance, if you haven't watched the movie yet.
What's Edge of Tomorrow's new name?
Edge of Tomorrow became Live, Die, Repeat. And then literally it's so confusing that on the posters and eventually the home video, it has both. It's like Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat. And it's like, what the just call it Edge of Tomorrow. It's called Edge of Tomorrow.
Okay.
If you want, it's just a title. It's not the title's fault that you didn't check out a really good Tom Cruise, Emily Blunt sci-fi movie that has one of the best Bill Paxton roles ever, because I miss Bill Paxton.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com. Do we got any more movie news this week? Anything is there one last big story or anything?
Well, sort of adjacent to that, in the world of TV, Doctor Who fans look like they're going to get a new Doctor after next year, because it was just announced yesterday that Jodie Whittaker and Chris Chibnall, the current Doctor and the current showrunner, respectively, are going to be leaving after a trio of specials that will air next fall.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because Doctor Who is one of those things. I love reading about it, but to sit down and watch episodes is hard for me to do. I don't know what it is. It's weird. I know. I really, really know. But have they had it? Really? It's not?
It's not weird for the sheer fact that it really does. It depends on what you latch onto in that show and who you latch onto in that show, because I started with the beginning of the classic run. I jumped in when I saw Christopher Eccleston's first episode, and then I really hadn't touched it again until David Tennant took over. So then I went back and watched all the Christopher Ecclestons, and then stayed on the train from David Tennant through Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi. And then I started the Jodie Whittaker run, and it didn't hook me.
Really?
But I do want to go back and start again from Eccleston to kind of watch it all together.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that's always kind of derailed the energy of Doctor Who is the schedule is very erratic. And David Tennant ended on a series of 4 specials that aired during holidays. And there's gaps between, it's always been just a very irregular run. And then by the time they got to Peter Capaldi's run, as wonderful as Peter Capaldi was, the writing wasn't always there for him. And Stephen Moffat they may have had to let him leave earlier than that, let someone else write for Peter Capaldi, because I loved Capaldi in the role. It's just the story material wasn't always there.
Capaldi was great.
We could talk about this for hours.
Yeah, we really could. But my question was, has she had regular seasons on this? It seems like she's been the Doctor, but I don't recall there being a lot of hey, the new season of Doctor Who's coming out, or hey, don't forget because that was the holiday special is the one I always try to watch for sure, because they make such a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
And
so here's
all I was going to say was I can't recall her having a lot of that, or them. Maybe it's just one of those things where you just don't see it. I don't know.
Well, it looks like she had 2 regular seasons, 2 10-episode seasons with a holiday special. But also, looking at the ratings, they have steadily declined, at least in the UK.
Okay.
From you have the opener has 11 million viewers, rough estimate.
Yeah.
And then by the time you get to the end of this past season, it's at 4 or 5 million. And that's not counting the holiday specials, which seem to be a huge jump.
Because
they always jump, but a bit of a jump.
Well, they always do a thing where it's one of the other Doctors comes back. So, hey, I want to see David Tennant again as Doctor Who or whatever. Yeah, number of series 2. Appearances, 20 stories, 22 episodes. That's all she's done.
Yeah. Again, it's just between British TV being shorter runs and it's a weird thing.
So we started talking about this off the air, but the point I was going to make is this a series that needs to take a break? Because the writing seems to be the issue with this. That it's, you bring up Peter Capaldi, great doctor, for lack of a better term, writing. Some of the stuff with who was the doctor before him?
Matt Smith. That's actually my favorite modern run.
I've heard that not all of the writing in that was great. David Tennant, you don't hear a lot of bad stuff about. Eccleston, he's the guy that brought it back and so on and so forth, but.
And he's always been distanced from it because of sort of conflicts that led him to leave after one season. And now he's starting to do audio dramas again, sort of embracing the franchise.
Yeah. But anyways, it goes back to it. It's like, is this a series that just needs to take a break for a little bit? Like, it's been running for a long time. Let it breathe for a couple years and then come back with, a new plan. But you know what? When you're only putting out series every couple years or whatever, I mean, she's been the doctor since 2017 or 2018, excuse me. I know there's a pandemic in there, but it seems like you should have had more screen time than 20 stories or 22 episodes, right?
Yeah, it's just been really weird. And it really does feel like, you go from 2018 to 2020, you had 2 years. You had like a year in between that doesn't have a Doctor Who series.
Yeah.
And then after that, pandemic, but also they're only coming back with 6 episodes this fall. And then they do 3 specials next year. And then that wraps the Chibnall-Whittaker era.
Yeah.
Like the BBC kind of needs to sit down, and it's kind of like, on a schedule standpoint, it's kind of like where the James Bond movies have been at, because they have not been as consistently released. I mean, we're going on 6 years between Spectre and No Time to Die. But, even in that respect, they had a better grasp on what they were doing. They had better continuity.
Yeah.
But still, it's a matter of the timing in between entries is a little hinky.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff. No, that's kind of my thought on it. It's like, maybe it's time to just take a break. So
yeah.
My first Doctor was David Tennant, and I think that's the one I like best. I like Capaldi second, I think. Capaldi or Tennant, I think, are my 2 favorites.
Smith is my favorite. I really liked the energy he brought to that character, and I still don't think he wanted to leave. But
no.
We'll talk about that another day.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this week. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joins me every Friday to talk about movies and Doctor Who and all that kind of stuff. Mike, you have yourself a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
You as well.